Yo, what is up, RotoGrinders? 5 o'clock on the East Coast. I rounded down close enough. 5:02 if you want to get all technical. It is a start of 2+ hours here. Hopefully, nobody is the case of the Mondays. It's GrindersLive, MLB DFS content. I'm sure we'll be sprinkling in some prize picks talk. We got Chief here, so of course he's going to chime in. And I know Stevie on occasion has his prize picks as well. And any sort of gambling, whatever sort of conversation. I'm not sure, Stevie. I know you participate or you give some NASCAR stuff. Of course, there's no NASCAR stuff tonight, but I did tail you again. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Joey Logano did something good.
He did.
He won me some money. So, and I would never have wagered on it until I saw it on Scores and Odds. So shout out to you. I think it was like a group of like 4 people and he had to finish the highest amongst 4. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think he beat them by like 12 or 13 spots.
And it was like plus 320, wasn't it? Something goofy.
He was the biggest like dog in the group, and he had the most speed, so it was a no-brainer.
Yeah. Shout out to you on that. Hopefully people tailed. I tailed in that one and didn't watch the race, didn't sweat it at all. And I saw you in one of the Discord channels or the Slack channel. Like I guess something goofy happened at the last second that prevented us from having a really big week.
Yeah, Larson just raced Elliott really hard at the end. Their teammates, and we went from cashing an Elliott win and an Elliott top 3 to not cashing outright. So I mean, it was still like a positive week. I think it was like a 3+ unit week, but it would have been like a 11+ unit week. So it would have been much nicer.
Izzy says that what's up, chat? Izzy in the chat says Logano had a great pit strategies. I assume that's what that means. Yeah. Is there like you're supposed to pit like 3 times a race, 2 times a race, and you got to delegate when it happens, or sometimes you pit like 4 or 5 depending on? I'm assuming you're not in like engine failure or whatever. Gas, you got to get gas at some point.
It's way different for a road course like this past weekend. There was a 3 strategy like stop strategy, and there was a 2 strategy stop strategy.
Okay.
The race winning team was a 2 stop strategy. So there was all kinds of ways you could do it. Rain came into play and like the track was wet for the first like 15 laps. So that kind of changed things up. But yeah, I mean, every race, usually there's like 8 sets of tires for the Cup Series and we see a lot of pit stops.
Stevie, we got an 8 gamer for Mlb Dfs. We'll be talking about it in a second. We were talking briefly pre-show, the best pitcher on the slate, not necessarily the best matchup, but the best pitcher on the slate, Max Scherzer, takes the bump, and there's some dicey weather. I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in chat right now. Of course, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth will be on in about an hour and 25 minutes to give you some clarity to speak to that. But yeah, this was recently updated. It seems like throughout the day, and Roth must have just got to it. And whenever orange is first, that's kind of a scary color, orange, and then yellow as far as Scherzer in the Bronx today. The Bronx is Yankee Stadium, right? I'm not a New Yorker, but I'm pretty sure the Bronx is Yankee Stadium. I've been there before, but, I was a tourist. It's yellow in Philadelphia, and it's yellow in Pittsburgh as well. And, again, check that out in the chat if you want to see the weather. You can read it at your own leisure. But models now are popping storms for New York, and that's a little bit concerning because they wouldn't play baseball if it's raining too egregiously. Want to bring in Will, Chief Justice. You guys know him, of course, from the Prop Shop. If you guys are over there in the Discord channel, there's a free channel. We have some free channels, some premium channels. Will is a man of the people, so his channel is free. You guys are talking props all day long. What's going on in the Prop Shop today? What are you guys talking about?
Been a lot of CSGO today in the Prop Shop, and that's been the main attraction. It's been going on all day. In fact, it's still going on right now, Dean. But MLB is coming up here soon. I've already posted what I'm doing for MLB. And in fact, I really only have 3 MLB plays today, Dean, which is pretty abnormal for me. I usually have a few more than that. But I just
save them. We should not to tell you what to do, but hey, get a certain number of likes and you'll release them. Don't just give them away for free. Just
I'm down with that. I'm down with that for sure. So I've kind of been holding off on putting in any more plays. Just these 3 I feel really good about. So those are the ones I'm kind of going to plant my flag on, and if they win tonight, it's going to carry me to a big night. If not, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. We'll start back over tomorrow.
I don't want any bad plays. Don't force out 10 and just the last 7 you're not really sure about. So yeah, if you can give me 3 good ones, do with that. It's quantity, not quality, right?
Absolutely. No, it's quality, not quantity.
Wait, did I get that wrong? Did I say that,
Yes.
did I say that incorrectly?
Yes, but that's okay. I knew what you meant, Dean. I knew what you meant.
And you know what? It's Monday. I'm still kind of sort of powering through. But yeah, you know what I meant. The context of the sentence kind of like it made sense for us. But yeah. All right. We got a lot of time to talk about this, obviously. We're here about an hour and 20 minutes or so. And whatever's on chat's mind as far as strategy-wise, as far as the slate, it's a pretty straightforward one in that there's not a clear and obvious offense. I think there's 3 really good pitching options. We'll discuss it. The Scherzer thing, it's fluid. We'll kind of see what's going on there weather-wise. I'm not going to play weatherman, and if Roth says I can play it in tournaments, I'll play it in tournaments. If it's too scary for cash, I'll see what Roth says. I'm happy to yield to the experts of it. As of right now, Scherzer's in my plans, but if the rain does not cooperate, we're going to have to pivot off of that. Give me the screenshot, Will, as far as a slate. I mentioned Scherzer. It's just an 8-gamer. The pitching's not that great, but it's also that point where there's not a lot of guys to pick on either. They're all just sort of these are guys I don't love rostering, but these are also guys I don't love picking on. Julio Urias has been phenomenal of late, pretty consistent. And then the cheapie, I think if you're looking for a cheapie, it's got to be the pitcher there in Tampa, a great ballpark, pitching against the Angels. The Angels, of course, without Ohtani. Left on left, it probably wouldn't have been as dangerous, but actually Springs has been really good against righties for what it's worth this year. The lineup is rough for the Angels. It's Trout and a bunch of dudes, as it always seems to be. Looks like 2 lefties popping up that lineup. Yeah, Magnegar, Sierra, and Jared Walsh as well. But and then the hitting, there's a couple teams that around the 5 team total, but nothing really jumping off the page. Minnesota 5.07 as far as their team total. Dodgers just below 5, and I think we have one more. It's above. Isn't Atlanta? Yeah, Atlanta's 5.29. Terrible ballpark, but locked in for 9 against Roansy Contreras. You never really know what you're going to get with that guy. He's a legit arm. He should be good at some point. Still just 22, but he's figuring it out. Some bumps along the way. Bad bullpen, too. What do you have here, Will, as far as
Yeah, in terms of pitching, I am gonna kind of talk about FanDuel really quickly, and then I'll hop to DK. But I definitely think Springs at 8K is squarely on the list today, even against some of the aces like Julio, especially with Max possibly in trouble here. Even against some of these aces, I think he's squarely in play. Jordan Montgomery is another guy I think is in play. Me and Stevie kind of had a brief, let's call it not brief, but a small discussion last night about why Montgomery is suddenly seemingly pitching a lot better than he was when he was in New York. Well, one main reason is Yadier Molina. The next main reason is a pitch mix switch. So I'm inclined to believe that Montgomery is probably going to have a fairly good outing today in Chicago with good pitching weather. So I think for me, with Scherzer kind of going down, Montgomery and Springs are my top 2 guys. And I didn't expect it to be that way last night. But, as it stands right now, Cabrera against Oakland is obviously in play as well. Don't want to overlook him. But those are 2 guys I'm really intrigued about: Springs and Montgomery.
Yeah, Yadier Molina expected back tonight. He is back tonight. He took the weekend off. He had business to attend to in Puerto Rico, and there was also, I'm not sure if it's a coincidence or not, but apparently he owns a basketball team in Puerto Rico that had a chance to clinch a championship this weekend. So, I'm not sure if those were related or not, but he's back nonetheless. And obviously one of the best catchers of all time, surefire Hall of Famer. Montgomery's interesting because he's certainly a pivot away from what looks like it's going to be the chalk. And of course, the chalk can absolutely get even chalkier if Scherzer becomes dicey weather-wise. What do you have here, Stevie? Because Montgomery for me is I think my 4th or 5th or 6th best pitcher, but it kind of falls off after 3. What's your take as far as the pitchers?
I mean, I feel like I just updated everything for Extra Survey, and Roth's last update really kind of pushes me off of Scherzer as of right now. Obviously, we'll have to see what he has to say when it comes to crunch time, and it's free right after us, so pay attention to that. But as of his last update, orange before yellow with a pitcher is almost always a fade for me. maybe we'll get to play the bats because I really like the Mets tonight. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going to pass on Scherzer. So I have Cabrera as my top guy today. I love this spot for him against Oakland. They're awful. Julio Urias is in a fantastic spot today going up against the Brew Crew. I think those are probably my top 2 pitchers, but then it would be Springs and Montgomery as the next 2 guys like Will was talking about. We talked about this on the morning grind today, and he has pitched well. 3 starts now with St. Louis, with Molina behind the plate. And Molina, this is a Hall of Fame catcher defensively, and he does a great job at what he does. So, yeah, I mean, this Cubs lineup, they got some power at the top. So I'm with Will. I like Montgomery. I don't know if I'd have him in my top 3, but he's definitely in my top 5 and going to make some lineups today.
Yeah, Cabrera, obviously, big ballpark out there in Oakland. Awful lineup he's going to be facing. He's got some pitch count concerns, I think, a little bit, but like, there's nobody really today that like is going to go like 115 pitches. Like, is that fair to say, Stevie?
Cabrera?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. 91 pitches last time out in 4 innings.
I don't think he goes over 100.
Okay, yeah, but like the other part of that is that like, I don't know if anybody goes over 100 today. Like that's, max maybe, but probably not. I suppose it's possible. And again, weather pending. He hasn't been that efficient, but he's been good as far as the strikeouts of late. Obviously, the Marlins, man, they just they got a lot of problems as far as a team. I speak negatively about them a lot, but they are a factory as far as pitchers. Cabrera is just no exception. Looks elite. He's been really good this year in a small sample. Obviously, when given a chance, they have one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. Some like 6'7" dude that's like 19 years old. Once again, they just keep pumping out awesome pitchers. He's a little bit expensive for me, but like I think that's what makes him a good little pivot away, right? It's interesting he's your number 1 pitcher because I think if you roster Cabrera, you can just do anything you want as far as your bats. Let me see what we have as far as ownership on him. So
it's not very high.
Yeah, 13% currently on DK, and on Fanduel, I'm going to assume it's even less than that because, of course, on Fanduel you only got to roster one of these bad boys. Yeah, 5% at 9.4K. Like he's just not going to get rostered on Fanduel. Like that's, Springs is 8K, 18%. Urias is a little bit more at 19-20%, and of course, Scherzer's 11.5. And again, I don't want to keep adding the caveat, but this ownership stuff can certainly get shuffled up depending on the weather there in New York. You got to take their will as far as I guess you guys had the conversation. You guys already talked on the morning grind show, but what's your thoughts as far as Cabrera will? Because I like him. I like the opponent. I don't know if I love the price, but he should be pretty good for when he's out there.
Yeah, definitely like Cabrera today. I think he's one of the top plays. And since we're on Cabrera, Dean, we're going to go ahead and give out one of my first plays of the day, and that's Cabrera over 5.5 strikeouts. I've been taking that line all day long. This young man has struck out at least 6 bats against some good teams. Today against Oakland. If you look at his last start, he faced the Padres, Dean. Are the Padres better than Oakland?
I think so. I mean, well, they've been playing like garbage lately. I keep losing money with them, but theoretically, there's
but essentially they're and their K rates are very low. That's the other thing. Like these are low. This is still a low strikeout team. Philly, are they better than Oakland? Probably so. Up for debate, but let's say yes. 6 strikeouts. The Cubs are, let's call them equal or worse than Oakland. 8 strikeouts. Had a game against Houston. This was earlier on. Only went 3 innings, 2 strikeouts. A game against Washington earlier on. 4 strikeouts. A game against Colorado, 9 strikeouts. So he's essentially gone over 6 strikeouts every start outside of 2. And today gets Oakland at 5.5. I'm in. One of my top props on the day, Edward Cabrera over 5.5 strikeouts. I also looking for DFS.
Derek Carty and Dave Potts, awesome too. So I'm going to be on later, answering questions in chat. Well, not in chat, answering the Discord questions. And of course, time. Of course, Roth will hit up the YouTube questions. So of course, we prioritize the premium members in the Discord. But I'm checking Carty's. I want to see what the bat has him projected for as far as strikeouts. I'm always curious what he has. No official just lineup just set for Oakland, but we can kind of we know it's going to be bad, but just curious how good the K potential is going to be there. I'm surprised. Carty's got Cabrera a little bit low as far as the strikeout projection in my estimation, right on 5. But that's a medium projection, obviously. Urias, which is interesting. Urias is the highest guy at 6.5, and Springs at 6.5, and Scherzer at 6.5. Interesting. All right. And I don't think that doesn't factor in rain or anything like that. But, the Yankees, their offense has been pretty inept of late, right? Lefty power is what Scherzer is vulnerable to, and there's no Matt Carpenter, which makes it a little bit easier. Of course, Rizzo's still lurking there. Benintendi, not a big power guy, but he'll make some contact. Collectively, 23.1% as far as this lineup because it's backloaded with some Ks, or even in the middle. You got Donaldson at 29%. Cabrera is a super small sample, what we've seen so far, but he's been striking out a good bit. Pretty good glove, I believe. Stevie, what's your official take as far as Scherzer? I don't think you mentioned them in the guys you liked. And go ahead. Your thoughts as far as Max.
I mean, I kind of said that I'm off of him with the weather.
Okay.
And listen, if Kevin Roth comes on crunch time and says it's good to go, he's the top pitcher on the slate, and I don't think anyone will really argue that. But with the weather, I just can't do it. Also, like, it is like the first game of the series, and it's always tough to kind of pinpoint umpires in the first game. But like as of right now, the projected umpire for that game is awful. So still, the Yankees striking out a ton lately. Marquez behind the plate is not great. It makes me like the Mets bats more if the weather is okay in that game. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see what Roth has to say. But as of right now, I'm a full fade on Max Scherzer, and it has nothing to do with him being like a good play on the slate. It's more of just the weather.
Yeah, Alfonso Marquez, currently the projected home plate umpire for that game. Like you said, the start of a new series, sometimes this stuff changes. They'll say the 4 guys that are there, and sometimes it shifts a little bit. But obviously, the next day, they just go clockwise or counterclockwise. Not all the umpires are out just yet, but that's the only extreme we have right now. Will, your thoughts as far as Scherzer? Are they echoing Stevie's?
Yeah. Bottom line, I mean, if he's in play, he's the number 1 play. Like that's the approach I'm taking. I do like the discount on rings, and I'll say that all slate. But on DK, I think you just play them both. On FanDuel, I think you can still get away with playing Scherzer and not having the Springs, but I still like Springs at 8K.
So let me pull up the old plate IQ. Springs against the Angels. He's well positioned for a win, I would say. He's a pretty big favorite against that Angels lineup's pretty inept, and Davidson's looks really, really rough in a small sample so far this year. Springs has been good. Doesn't walk many guys, 5.3%, really solid. The Ks aren't amazing, but they're really good at 26.5%. Fletcher is annoying leading off because he's a contact guy. 2.4% strikeouts this year. Geez, that's what? In 41 plate appearances versus a lefty, that's 2 strikeouts. Trout will strike out, but of course he's an opposing bat. Collectively, we're looking at 20%, but the Fletcher thing skews it a little bit, and Rengifo batting third is also only 12.5%. So it is interesting, Springs. You look at his splits, 19.4% as far as striking out lefties, but righties this year, 29.1%. This is like non-traditional, right? Striking out 29.1% righties this year, and we have 7 righties. Is that a big enough sample size, Stevie? Is that legit? We're buying into that this guy's kind of reverse splitsy as far as his case?
It's still, I think, way too soon to tell. What he's doing differently is when he's facing lefties, he's just relying on his slider, and it's not generating as many swinging strikes. And against righties, he has an above average changeup. That's why he's someone that's like a big prospect, and he's just using it 45% of the time against righties, using that fastball changeup combo against righties, keeping hitters off balance. Sorry, like completely was like slipped my mind there. But you have to look at Springs too, and he's working ahead of hitters like 60% of the time. So like he's getting ahead in counts, and then he's able to keep these guys off balance, and that's why he's striking out right-handed hitters at such a high clip. And if he can continue to do that, 265 plate appearances tells us enough that, I'm definitely interested in playing him here. And the 2 lefties in the lineup are big strikeout guys. So if he can get around Trout, and if Fletcher doesn't do something weird, I think Springs just kind of cruises in this matchup at home.
The other tricky thing with him is, again, they don't really let him go. And Tampa is always quick to baby their younger arms as well. He was pitching good against the Yankees. 5 innings, 78 pitches, 1 earned run, 2 hits his last outing. That's it. He's done. He got the hook. He's out. 5 innings before that, 85 pitches. And again, he was pitching pretty well. He went 6 before that against Detroit, but he was efficient, 85 pitches, gave up 0 runs. Like, no guarantee he's getting that quality start, even if he doesn't give up any runs, because the 6 innings are not for sure locked in. 5 before that, 4 1/3, 4. But again, there's just not a ton of options for that. But just be aware of that. Maybe that as chalk, like the chances of him hitting that quality start are somewhat diminished. Doesn't mean he can't get there, but he's got to thread the needle pretty good.
Well, I also feel like they're just going to be very careful with him for the rest of the year, at least, because he's doubled his innings from last year already. He threw 44 innings last year. And then when he was with Boston in 2020, he only threw 20 innings. So this is a guy, I feel like he's kind of at their limit for innings already. And we're starting to maybe see him, get to that limit where 80 pitches might be the norm. Because at the end of the day, this is a team that wants to make the playoffs and make a run, and you need a guy like Springs in your rotation for that.
Yeah, which is why I think if he's going to be heavily owned, right? Maybe it's not that great, and maybe 5 innings and a win is good enough. He's not jumping off the page as far as salary. Just sort of balancing that, and the other part of it is okay, if you're not going to roster him, who are you going to roster? And we might lose Max. I guess that leads us to the Julio Urias conversation. Stevie, what do you have as far as Urias today versus Milwaukee?
He's been so consistent. I think that's the biggest thing. Pitching and innings limits and pitch count and all that stuff. That's another huge concern with any Dodgers pitcher, but they have been letting him go over 90 pitches. He's done it in 5 of his last 6. The one that he did, he threw 89 pitches. He's not going to get 110 pitches, but if Max gets taken off the slate pitching wise, that's already weak becomes weaker. And there's not a perfect answer. There's not a perfect recipes for any of these guys going complete game shutout with 10 strikeouts today. So I think overall, he's a fantastic play. The projected lineup, 27.5% Ks against left-handed pitching this season. They're going to leave some lefties in there. So yeah, I think he's a fantastic play. Said he's top 2 for me tonight if Scherzer gets scratched off.
Will, what do you got in Urias? I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I don't like him better than the cheaper guys, but he's got upside against Milwaukee, who's been striking out a ton. He's at home, so should be in line for the win. I know they just faced Lauer a little while ago, and Lauer was able to pick up, I think, 7 strikeouts in that game and went into the 7th inning. Didn't come out of it, but I think Urias is okay. I don't expect him to get shelled. Don't expect him to give up a whole bunch of runs. He definitely probably goes 6 innings, 6 strikeouts. If he doesn't give up any runs, he'll be in line for around 46 points on FanDuel and 26, 27 on DK. So up in there, if everything goes completely well, if he happens to pick up 7 or 8 strikeouts, look out. He's going to be a slate breaker.
Yeah. I'm going to pivot. If Scherzer's not a thing, I'm definitely going to have some more Urias. The projected lineup, the least guy the guy that strikes out the least is McCutchen at 21.8%. Not an official lineup, but you want to get Keston here in there, strikes out a ton at 40 plus. Taylor strikes out a ton as well. And if the only lefty projected right now is Yelich. Telich, they tend to sit versus lefties. We'll see how that goes. And Renfroe's got a ton of power, obviously, but he also strikes out plenty. Brosseau, another guy that strikes out a lot. Urias looks like a real. I'm thinking about Scherzer and Urias together on DK if I can make that work. That was one of my plans earlier today, but we'll see. Pending the weather. But Urias looks like an excellent step down and a consolation prize. I'm okay settling on that, which makes me a little bit less nervous as far as the weather there, because I think Urias should be just fine as well. And then I see some names being thrown out in the chat. What's up, chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. If we get to 50 likes, will you give the next of your 3 favorite prize picks play today?
Absolutely. Listen, I'm here for the people, Dean. I'm here for the people.
All right. Well,
we get the 50 likes.
I mean, 50 should be.
No.
That's a no-brainer. That's a given. But like, that just
All right.
matters when we knock it out.
Yeah, we're at 43 at least from what I'm looking at. 45. Let's give the people what they want, Dean.
Just give them the second one. Okay, go for it. Yeah.
Well, no, I want to. Okay, 52. Here we go. So the next one should be no surprise here. We're going Jeffrey Springs, coming in at 5.5 strikeouts. I just think that's another big time play today. You talked about plate IQ. You talked about what we're going to see there. Strikeouts are tremendously in our favor here for Mr. Springs. I mean, heck, even Mike Trout's been striking out this season. So I'm not really worried about the Los Angeles Angels. Like, this team, Dean, on the season,
it's putrid.
It's rough. I mean, they've got Fletcher at the top at 2.4%, who will probably have some ground ball outs. They've got Rengifo, and they've got Kurt Suzuki with no power. After that, Dean, everybody is above 20%. I like Springs here. I think he can pick up the K's in his sleep.
Alan says, is Springs a trap like Ohtani yesterday? I didn't play DFS yesterday, but I know that he was sick. He wasn't feeling well. I think his velocity was down, and he only had a couple strikeouts. I mean, there's no correlation. Ohtani and Springs have nothing to do with each other, but I understand why that question comes out there. Let's see.
Ohtani was also facing Detroit, and he was the pitcher. They actually have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. Stan
wants to know, I'll ask you this one, Will. Any interest in Sonny Gray? And this is like one of those pivots that aren't great, and he's kind of expensive for Sonny Gray. The matchup's good. I think he'll be fine, but whatever. I mean, I'm not running 150, so if I was, maybe I'd sprinkle him in, but I'm not, begging to play Sonny Gray. What say you?
I think Sonny Gray is fine. If you look at the two sites,
he's fine.
I mean, he's 9,500. I think you can. If I had to choose between Cabrera and Gray, I'd probably take Cabrera. If I had to choose between Gray and Montgomery, I think I'd take Montgomery because of better weather and matchup. But I also think Sonny Gray is just fine. He's not in a bad spot here. He will pick up some strikeouts. He's 8,500 on DK. Cabrera's 8,800. Montgomery's 83. They're all within range. Gray he's okay. Yeah,
he's another pitch count guy. Especially earlier in the year, but more lately they've let him go a little bit more. 92 pitches in 6 innings last time out. Before that, 80, 96. So maybe that's gone away a little bit. Yeah, Stevie, your thoughts as far as Gray? He's 8.5 on DK. I think I'm more likely to play him on DK than I would be on FanDuel. 8.5 on DK, and I think FanDuel he's somewhere in the 9s, right? Yeah, 9.5. Again, options get squeezed if we lose Scherzer. Where are you as far as Gray, Stevie?
Well, I mean, Roth just tweeted out that he's optimistic about New York now. So, I don't know.
Roth just messing with us, man.
He is. But I mean, for me, as far as Sonny Gray is concerned, did I have interest in him an hour and a half ago? Not really. This lineup came out and it's not great. A lot of strikeouts at the bottom half of this lineup. Pitching is weak on the slate. I mean, I think Sonny Gray has some upside in this spot. So I don't mind. What's that?
Steve, sorry, I was talking out loud to myself.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Brad Miller's in the lineup, Calhoun's in the lineup, Duran, Tavares.
Yeah, there's
pretty rough. I mean, obviously Semien and Seager are pretty good, but otherwise, even Garcia's got some power, but he strikes out a ton. Okay, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Looking at the lineup, I think you have to have a little bit of interest in Sonny Gray here.
What's going on, Will? You're having some issues.
Well, I mean, Stevie he's making good points. I'm looking at play IQ just like he is. You see the lineup come out. I mean, you know what I'm doing. I go to Price Picks and I look and he's sitting there at 5.5, and I'm going. He was at 5 this morning for what it's worth. He's at 5.5 now. That makes tons of sense considering the lineup. And I'm just sitting here saying, do I need to add Sonny Gray to my pool here. Do I need another put another unit in? Take Gray, take Montgomery, take Cabrera, take Jeffrey Springs, and call it a day. Like that. That's what I'm sitting here debating about verbally. Also, in terms of props, D, I'm not trying to make this a prop show, I promise, but I've got Noah Syndergaard.
We have plenty of time. Go for it.
Noah Syndergaard is sitting here at 5, and it's like, well, he's facing Cincinnati, and Syndergaard's not some elite pitcher, but man, Cincinnati's been awful, and so now I'm trying to see if I'm talking myself into one more card on the. I don't think I'm going to do it with Syndergaard, but these 4. I'm considering, and I don't run a whole lot of 4-mans. I'm considering running a 4-man with Gray, Montgomery, Cabrera, and Springs. It feels like a winner, D. And not only feels. If you look at the plate IQ data, I think we're on to something here. Thanks a bunch for circling back, talking a little bit more about Sonny Gray. Thanks, Stevie, for possibly pushing me over the edge here.
So, yeah, I just went ahead and put this in the chat for the people as far as Ross weather. Yellow-orange now in Yankee Stadium, so a little bit less concerning. But, again, Roth will be on about an hour, a little bit less than an hour. He'll give you the update as far as what's going on there. Yellow-orange in Philly, so it looks like it's got a little bit worse there. Not ready to freak out just yet. And yellow for Pittsburgh as well. See some questions here in chat, Stevie. I'm going to ask this to Will because I already know your answer, Stevie. Wade wants to know Cabrera or Springs. I assume Stevie prefers Cabrera. I think it was his favorite pitcher.
Yep.
But Will, if you're taking this Cabrera or Springs, who do you prefer amongst those two?
I definitely think Cabrera has a slightly longer leash. I think Springs has equal strikeout upside. All things considered, I like Springs for the price.
They're asking in chat about the Thor, Syndergaard. Man, Stevie, what happened to this dude? This guy used to have like electric stuff, and his K rate on the season's 18.3%. Like, he's been a fine pitcher, but K's are king, and he's not getting any. What do you think of Thor?
The Reds are terrible. They're one of the worst offenses in baseball, but they make contact. They don't make great contact, but they make contact, and he's not a huge strikeout pitcher. I think I leave Syndergaard on the shelf today, and I think I look at like Fraley, India, Farmer, these guys for some stolen bases. Grant tweeted it out. I don't know when, but he tweeted out like Fraley last week was plus 1,200 against Syndergaard for a stolen base. He's plus 200 today. So
I had it. It lost. I had it. But yeah, I had a good closing line.
You were ready to go back to the well, and you can't even at plus 200.
No, I couldn't bet it. I'm not betting it 2-1. Like, get out of town. There are some Ks in that lineup for what it's worth. Barrero, it's a small sample, but 46% and 43 at bats. Romine's a K guy too, and the Moose will strike out. But, man, 18.3%. Thor is he like a finesse pitcher now? I guess he kind of sort of is, Stevie.
There was like a stretch of like 2 or 3 games this year, and Keith and I talked about it in the morning grind, where he like really like kind of relied on the slider, and his strikeout rate, like in swinging strikes, went way up. And that's the only time he's done it this year. So I have no idea. Listen, there's been a lot of injuries with Noah Syndergaard. Was he electric? He was one of the best pitchers in baseball, but unfortunately, injuries stink, and he's had to deal with them throughout his career, and just doesn't have that electric stuff that he had one time before that. But I mean, the Reds stink. I mean, I guess like my biggest concern is the weather in this one as well. And we had some people asking about Odorizzi versus Pittsburgh, and I love picking on Pittsburgh, but like there's a good chance for delay in that game.
Okay.
So I think that just kind of crosses Odorizzi off. I mean, Pittsburgh is a terrible offense, and we have no issue playing anybody against Pittsburgh, but the fact that like we get multiple cells moving in over the park during this game, and like potentially getting some like 30-minute delays or an hour delay, like that's just not enough for me to have interest in Odorizzi. Atlanta has a deep bullpen, so yeah, I just no interest in Odorizzi. Answering the question in chat.
17% Ks in the season for Odorizzi. That's again pretty brutal. Of course, the matchup's good, the ballpark's good. I don't know what Odorizzi's ceiling is. He can go 6 and give up like 2 and get a win or something like that, I guess. That's serviceable. according to, and if anybody would know, Reds Gal knows that the Thor owns the Reds. So maybe historically he's been good against Cincinnati. I don't know that for certain. But yeah, I mean, and Votto's not in that lineup, of course. Like he's out with injury right now. He had a great tweet, by the way. He's like, I had no idea I was hurt. I thought I just sucked, which I thought was pretty funny. He's a good tweeter, Joey Votto.
He's a good dude. Like he's a good dude. He does a lot of charities and stuff. He's a good dude.
He seems like a good guy. Yeah, he's Canadian. That comes to the territory, right? All right. There's some other questions popping up in chat. I feel we can sort of knock out, and of course, we're going to talk stacks and sticks soon enough in a second. But
we're really quick, Dean.
Yeah,
we are at 66 likes. It's Daytona week. Let's get 150 likes, and I'll give a NASCAR package away for the week.
Oh, sweet! There you go. 150 likes. You get
Daytona week.
Listen, Stevie dropping the hammer. You get the NASCAR package. I like it, Stevie. I tell you, when we get to 200 likes, I'll give out a free pass to the props.
200 likes. That's really generous. I was going to try to one up Stevie, but I can't. You've already beat me to it. I got nothing to top that for sure. Aaron's got.
I'll let Devin pick the person too. There you go.
Oh, I don't want to pick. I don't want to be the guy because then I feel like I'm favoring somebody or whatever. I want somebody else to do it. Put it in somebody else's hands. I don't want to be the judge. But producer Devin's lurking, producer Steve, they're both kind of lurking there in chat. Devin was giving away 1 week free passes to RG Premium last week with the Discord channel. We do that several times a week also, and he'll let you know another reason to join us every single day. That's why you hit the notifications. Well, I mean, you kind of sort of know we're going to be on 5 o'clock on the East Coast, but subscribe, turn on those notifications, hit the like button, all the buttons, hit everything, click all the buttons, click all the things. So Stevie, Aaron wants to know, and there's no context to this outside of Fanduel single entry. I have no idea what Aaron's stacking if he's not stacking, but like favorite overall bat basically is a one-off. You got Acuna. I love Acuna tonight. The power hasn't been there this year. Like when he hits it, it goes, but only like 10 home runs this season. But 25 stolen bases. Like he'll make up for it on the base pass. I think third in the league. A Goldie versus a lefty. It's kind of a reverse splits lefty, but still versus a lefty. Not a great hitting environment in Chicago. Should mention Weather Edge does not like it. Winds blowing in Wrigley. But Steve, you pick one of these three as an a la carte bat. Turner, I assume it's Trey Turner, Goldie, or Acuna. You have a preference amongst those three?
It'd probably be Goldie out of those three. I mean, he's the best hitter in baseball against left-handed pitching this season. My favorite bat is Kyle Schwarber tonight, though. We'll talk about him in a minute, but I think I'd go Goldie. Not the greatest hitting conditions, but the dude is just on fire against left-handed pitching. His WRC plus is like 30, 40 points higher than the next highest. And it's not like Smiley is someone I really worry about. So I think I go Goldie still, even with the weather.
165 game sample, according to Weather Edge. In Wrigley, it's 5 miles per hour as far as blowing in, basically from center field. 72 degrees is the temp. We've seen a decrease at 24% homers and 10% in runs in 165 previous games with similar weather for what it's worth. But yeah, that doesn't mean Goldie can't smash it, obviously. Anything else popping up in the chat as far as we got Jeremy saying, hey, Devin, now people are just going to like ask Devin to like pick him, which I respect. Jeremy's been supporting the turd bombs all season long. Shout out Grant. Let's see. Yeah, butter Devin up. Bring him some like pho or foo. Am I pronouncing that correctly? What's the vegan food? Yeah, maybe. Sure. I don't know. Devin likes his that'll work. I'm not saying he could be bought off, but maybe he can. Hit up the old DoorDash and get Devin's address or something like that. Foo? How do you pronounce that? Faux? I am not cultured. And the chat's giving me the business.
He was talking about Thai food earlier on Twitter or in chat or something.
He says, I am not cultured. Somebody please.
Dean is the person that orders a cheeseburger with no cheese and no condiments on it.
Not necessarily, but yeah, I've been hanging out with Grant, and he's been giving the business as far as that too. Because
we had a conversation about this on the morning grind the other day.
You talked about me behind my back.
I don't know if we were live. It might have been pre-show, but we talked about your your food habits.
A pho is it pho? Is that how you pronounce it? Pho.
Pho.
That has beef in it, apparently.
Pho noodles.
I don't know, and I feel like that's somehow related to ramen in some way. Or am I mixing? Again, I am not food cultured. I shouldn't be the one speaking. I'm speaking at it right now, but just whatever. Slide into Devin's DMs.
We were live. See, someone said we were live. See,
yeah.
Thanks for listening to the morning grind, Aaron. Shout out.
What's funny is I sent Grant a text or a DM like why I know he was recording it. I'm like, hey, I want to play the morning grind game. Let me know.
Did he tell you what I said?
He said I wasn't allowed to play. He's like, no. I think he said I had to sit on his lap to play or something like that.
No. So I said if you shave your mustache, and he would not send that back to you because he doesn't want you to shave your mustache.
Yeah, he's been a bad mustache influence, Grant. He wants me to keep it longer than I should.
I said I originally said, yeah, come on and he can sit right next to you and sit on your lap and I thought about what I said and I was like, yeah, that didn't sound great. The morning grind was on rails Friday. There you go. It was the first time Grant had been on in a month and a half, and it was good times.
Sounds like good times for sure. Give me the summary, Stevie, as far as arms. I know you've been talking about it throughout, but we got people sprinkling it on throughout the, as the show is progressing. The audience picks up of people are coming home from work, yada yada. I just sat down. I fired the show up 3 minutes ago. Give me the summary as far as pitchers.
I'm going to say Scherzer's the best pitcher on the slate, but crunch time 6:25 Eastern, right after us. It's a free show. Pay attention to what Roth has to say as far as Scherzer and that whole game is, because if he's saying if a storm drifts north a little bit, we could get a postponed. So as of right now, I have no Scherzer, even though I think he's the best pitcher on the slate. Urias is in a great spot against a high strikeout Brewers team. Way different lefty righty splits this season for the Brewers. Edward Cabrera against Oakland, one of the worst teams in baseball. Jeffrey Springs, outside of Mike Trout and Fletcher not being a big strikeout guy, he's in a great spot. We talked about Jordan Montgomery in good pitching conditions. He's looked completely different with Molina behind the plate in St. Louis. So really like those guys, really like the lineup that Sonny Gray is getting to face tonight. We didn't talk about, some of these cheap pitchers. If you're playing on DraftKings, you want to punt, maybe it's Adam Aller against Miami, just because Miami kind of stinks and this game's in Oakland. But I don't think you're going to need that today. I think there's plenty of value bats that we'll talk about. And I think that you kind of want to pay up for some of these pitching options today.
Yeah, I mean, Aller versus the Marlins is stinks versus stinks. Who's got more stench on them? Because Aller's been horrendous this season so far. I mean, ERA, if we care about ERA, is 6.63 or something like that. But even the Sierra at 5.7, the walks are almost as bad as the Ks. 11.1% walks, 13.9% Ks. Yeah, I mean, but any live arm against the Marlins theoretically could get it done. Well, give me your synopsis as far as pitchers.
Springs, Cabrera, Montgomery. That's my synopsis.
All right, super concise. Let's see, 150 likes, and we get Chief's favorite bidet. Are you a bidet guy, Chief? Shout out to Kirkwood, I believe, his significant other is having a child today. So shout out to him.
Well, Dean, we only get the K of the bidet when I host the show.
Is this something I missed? Was there a K of the bidet that I was not on? That I don't know the backstory of that. Enlighten me.
Yeah, Dean. Our last host, we put together a phenomenal production here, and not because you weren't here. It had nothing to do with it. It was just a fun show. The K of the bidet became a thing. So whenever I host, we get a K of the bidet. Yeah.
Feel free to give one though if you have I don't know what that means, but a K of the bidet. Is that even grammatically? Not that look, I'm not hating because I wasn't a part of it. I just don't know what's going on, and I don't quite know. Do I want a K of the bidet? Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
It can be a good thing. It's a good thing, Dean. It's a good thing.
We still have one more of your plays, right? You've given out 2 so far. Is that correct, Will?
Correct. I have.
So,
but listen, we're trying to get to 150 right now, man. I want us to get to 150, folks, because the NASCAR package could absolutely be a game changer for some lucky person out there. I mean, on a good week too, Daytona week. I know Stevie's going to have tons of stuff in the Discord. Just the rankings, the projections, you name it. He's going to have it. It's a good week. We need to get to 150 likes. What's that?
Is it a Million Maker week this week, Stevie?
350, 100K to first.
Okay. I mean, that's still pretty good, right? That's still worth getting out of bed for, I think.
I mean, it's the final week for the Fantasy Racing Championship qualifiers. Yeah, I mean, it's a good week for NASCAR. I think we would have seen a bigger tournament if it was like last weekend. College football being back this weekend, I think we could have potentially seen like a 500K tournament, or even if this race was on Sunday. But with college football on Saturday and the race on Saturday, I don't think we're going to see like 350. I think is super solid.
Stevie, John in chat says Daytona is the opposite of a good week. Anyone can win. Is it more of a, you throw more darts at Daytona?
No comment. Can anyone win? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there an art to racing or playing DFS at Daytona and Talladega? Yeah, there is. And it's very profitable. It's been the two most profitable tracks for me over the last, 6, 7, 8 years, however long we've been doing fantasy NASCAR.
So Daytona's been like one of your favorite places to play. So do you get a little bit more ambitious, a little bit more contrarian there? Not necessarily.
I have a strategy that I use and it works.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, it's no secret. Anybody that's ever listened to me talk about it, I mean, it works.
Yeah, John just says your top 5 picks can crash on the first lap. Like, I suppose, I guess
they can. But if your top 5 picks crash on the first lap, then you didn't make your lineup the right way.
You shouldn't be. Well, what if you're playing the 25th, 26th, 27th? I don't know. I mean, this is not my world. I have no idea. But my understanding is you're not supposed to play the guys up front necessarily because.
I mean, without getting into it too much, your top plays at Daytona and Talladega should not wreck the first lap of the race.
There you go. Fair enough. We're still waiting for Dodgers, Brewers, and Miami. We got an Oakland lineup for what it's worth. A spoiler, it's not great. There are some contact guys in that lineup, which is not necessarily what you want. Kemp's a contact guy. I believe Machine's a contact guy as well. I don't have the play IQ pulled up, but they're also not very good. A team total of 3.5. Not a great ballpark to hit baseballs in either. Some more questions loading up in chat. Feel free to load those up. We're going to talk stacks. We're going to talk our favorite plays position by position. Do want to mention, if you don't want to play DFS, if it's too much to build an entire lineup, just go ahead and play yourself some Stat Hero. If you're not aware of Stat Hero, it's a unique fantasy sports platform that allows users to compete only against the house, not other players in that contest. You participate. It's a head-to-head style contest where Stat Hero, what they do is they provide a lineup that you have to beat. You got to take it down. They also have pick'em style contests too. They are additionally running a contest here, running a bonus here in August. You get exclusive bonus payout for playing in head-to-head contests. All you have to do is play. You'll automatically rack up bonus points. Use the promo code GRINDERS. You get a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Jump into the action today. On the screen, you'll see the breakdown as far as the payouts as well. I'm sure producer Steve is all over it. Again, use the promo code GRINDERS, GRINDERS, 50% deposit bonus. Also want to mention we're now in week 5 of 6 weeks for the FanDuel Single Entry Series contest. Added value for the best contest over there on FanDuel for their single entry contest this week is a $10 variety. Last week was I believe the $1 and the $50? Do want to give a shout out to the winners last week. They won themselves a trip to Chicago, all expenses paid, and a chance to win $10,000, $50,000 total prize pool. September 9th, Chicago, that's where the single entry series championship will be going down. Of course, that's where their live final is happening as well in Chicago. We want to shout out Dawson 1129, and it's PTRCK 1972. It's maybe Patrick, I don't know. But shout out to those two, winning themselves a chance to win up to $10,000. And if nothing else, they got themselves a free trip to Chicago September 9th. This, I believe, is week 5, and week 6 will be the last week next week. And then, of course, not too far down the road is the championship going down there in Chicago. All right. Favorite stacks, Stevie, who we stacking up tonight? Who's popping for you? For me, it's all just kind of like, they're kind of sort of the same, like the first 4 or 5. And I don't see one clear and obvious team. What say you?
I love Philly. I love Philly, and I like Minnesota a lot. Those two teams would probably be my top 2 stacks. Sessa, not going to pitch too deep into this game. Maybe 50 pitches. I wouldn't expect him to go much more than that. Cincinnati has the worst bullpen in baseball. Philadelphia, a decent hitter's ballpark. I wouldn't say it's a pitcher's ballpark, and I wouldn't say it's like an excellent hitter's ballpark. So, I mean, Philly, I think they're in a great spot going up against a bullpen type of game against one of against the worst bullpen in baseball this year. So I like them a lot. And then on the Minnesota side, a lot of power in this lineup going up against a guy, Reagans, who struggled with command. Talented young pitcher. He could go out and he could dominate this team, and it wouldn't shock me. But they're a low strikeout team. He's struggling with command. This is the type of guy you want to stack against. So those would be my top 2 teams. And then, I'll kind of fill in with some Tampa, some St. Louis. A lot of people are talking Dodgers today. I'm not on it. I hope the Dodgers don't go off. If they go off, it'd be not a good day for me. And then I don't mind Atlanta against Contreras. Atlanta is an offense where, does it shock anybody if they score like 15 runs on a slate? So, I mean, if you want to go Atlanta, but my top 2 stacks today, Philadelphia and Minnesota.
Yeah, I had Atlanta first. Just betting on the talent, right? Betting on the skill.
Yeah.
I love that lineup. Contreras is another, he's an electric arm, young fireballer, so he's really good. He's 22 years old, but it's not fully harnessed, and we've seen him kind of all over the place. And speaking of bullpens, Pittsburgh, one of the worst bullpens in all baseball. Their active roster, 3rd in the league, 3rd worst as far as Sierra. I think it was 3rd worst as far as XFIP. Just sort of betting on the talent of Atlanta, and that's that. And I know Contreras is talented, but he's not there just yet. He's not a complete player. He'll show flashes, and maybe he can certainly go 5 and strike out 10, and it wouldn't shock me. But I'm thinking the other side, it can go off the rails pretty quickly as well. What do you have, Will, as far as your favorite stacks?
Love Minnesota tonight. It's going to end up being my top stack of the day. Yeah, that's where I am. Really love Minnesota.
What's interesting is I believe they were number 1 in our consensus rankings. Myself, Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, Taylor. We have the consensus rankings as far as our stacks. I'm scrolling down. Oh, you know what? It's Atlanta. Oh, no, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Minnesota are basically like a 3-way tie. Yeah. Atlanta, Philadelphia, Minnesota, 3-way tie. Then there's the Dodgers, got a little bit of love. St. Louis, Tampa. I like Tampa. I just don't know how to stack them, but the pitcher they're facing has been dreadful. Stevie, what's your thoughts on that? Because it's a terrible ballpark. That Tampa lineup is pretty, not great. Yeah, talk to me about Tampa, because Tucker Davidson's been a disaster in a small sample.
I could see using them as like a secondary stack. I don't think a full 5-man stack them, but I mean, Paredes is cheap. Ramirez is cheap. Chang is cheap. Mejia at catcher is cheap. You could use 2 or 3 of those guys just to kind of make your rest of your lineup work. I mean, it's not like we're playing 6K pitchers today. So yeah, I mean, for me, I don't mind it. Davidson walks guys higher than he strikes guys out. He's not a huge strikeout guy. He's a guy that's very beatable. So could a full stack work? Yeah. I mean, it could. I could see Tampa scoring some runs, but I think for me, especially with Brandon Lau out of the lineup tonight, it's just one of those things where I'm looking at using these guys more as a secondary stack, and know that if there's a scenario in this game where Chang comes up and it's a righty pitching,
Lau comes in.
So know that he's 2K though. So I get it if you want to play him. I have him on one of my 3 lineups just because he's cheap, and I have a mini little Tampa stack in it. So, but I know going in, there's a good chance that Brandon Lau comes in and hits for him in this game. If it's in a position, if Tampa's up 8-0, probably not. This guy probably gets in that bat.
Bases loaded, tie game in the 8th inning, it's Lau.
Yeah. It might not even be for Chang at that point.
Yeah.
Lau is probably coming in, and Chang's probably not going back out there.
Assuming it's a righty, obviously.
Yep.
All right. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. If we hit 100, Will's got one more play for you. And if we hit 150, Stevie's giving away a NASCAR package with, of course, Daytona big boy.
We should have already hit 100. We're over 100.
Okay, well, I'm behind. My apologies. Will, fire off your third Prize Picks play. What do you got for the people?
Super easy, man. Jordan Montgomery, he's 5 strikeouts on Prize Picks today. We're getting a little bit of a discount, I think. The option for the push, I don't think it's a push here. I think he's going for at least 6. So give me Jordan Montgomery, top 3 plays on Prize Picks tonight. Jordan Montgomery over 5 strikeouts. Cabrera over 5.5. And, Springs over 5.5. Those are my top 3. I kind of did, let's call it a round robin. I've got Springs and Cabrera, Springs, and Montgomery. I didn't do Montgomery and Cabrera. And then I've got a 3-pick of those guys as well. I got 2.5 units on each play on that one. So I'm feeling really good about those. 2.5 units on each investment.
Roth just tweeted about Pittsburgh, by the way. I just dropped the radar tweet in the chat if you guys want to see that. Just one more game to freak out about, I suppose. Or maybe we won't. We'll see. We'll see what Roth has to say. And I saw Alex in chat mention the Cardinals. Like, I've been printing money, just betting Cardinals here against lefties and betting them like first 5, betting them like alt lines and things like that. And they are the best team in all of baseball versus lefties. Now, the ballpark stinks, and Smiley's a reverse splits lefty. So those kind of things have me put off them a little bit. But I think I had Cardinals 5 in my rankings. I had a 4, actually. Yeah, they're just
the weather in the game is kind of crappy for hitting.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, if it was in a good ballpark or it was just neutral or whatever, I'd be a little more excited. I wish that Smiley wasn't reverse splitsy, but yeah, St. Louis is the best team in all of baseball versus lefties. It's pretty cool seeing Pujols smash, and I assume he's still in the lineup. Yeah, and like they'll pull him. Pujols will get the hook when a righty comes in. He had 2 home runs in the previous game. And they gave him the hook when a righty comes in. They're just not putting him against righties necessarily, assuming the game situation calls for it. But I presume he's DHing once again, and he is pretty cheap. He's $2K still on DK as a salary saver. Don't mind that at all.
And to be fair, really quick, like, I just want to say, like, I build 3 teams a night, and St. Louis is one of the 3 stacks that I have. So I do think like it's beatable.
Yeah, people making allegations in chat as far as Pujols. He was kind of terrible the last couple of years, and he's had a resurrection in St. Louis. It's pretty cool. I'm not sure if this is his last year or not, but yeah, 8 away.
Playing a lot less too, though.
Yeah.
And
they're not putting him
fresh, like, yeah.
And he's DHing.
Oh, right? Dean.
Yeah.
I forgot about this, but I must say, the last show you were out, you weren't feeling well, so. Yeah. Are you feeling any better? Like a little bit. You've improved your health a little bit.
We're getting a little bit better. Yeah. We're not in the weeks just yet, but hopefully soon. We'll see.
That's good. Secondly, I must say that day you were out, if people just followed our instructions or our recommendations, rather, I didn't get a chance to listen to the morning grind that day. So Stevie, that was the day that Mr. Spidey Bomb himself was on the morning grind with you, and it seemed like all of our thoughts were aligned. If you just stacked the Mets that day, like we explained, and took the one-offs that I gave you, you pretty much won the slate. Like, it was abnormally accurate. I talked about playing Starlin Marte. He hit 2 bombs. Talked about playing Sean Murphy. He hit 2 bombs, and we stacked the Mets. And a couple other guys. Alex says, Will with the victory lap. It's not about the victory lap. It's about, this is what this is about. Dean, we held down the fort while you were gone. We made sure that they received the same quality intel as usual. Good to have you back, buddy. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. I think I fell asleep through that sleep because I was in and out, and I like the Mets too, and I didn't play him, and I was bummed that I didn't play him. But on top of not feeling great. But I was on the Mets as well, and maybe they were popular. I have no idea what happened. I just know Marte had a couple homers. Hey, let's go around the horn. Let's give our favorite plays position by position. Let's start at catcher. I'm going to ask Stevie, and Stevie's going to say, well, who's the cheapest catcher? And that's who we're playing. Who is the cheapest catcher? Who are we looking at on DK as a cheapie?
Okay, so I'm not going all the way down tonight because I think there is a catcher that is way mispriced just in general, and that's Travis d'Arnaud. Batting fifth, he's 3K. There's my cheap catcher tonight, Dean.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I'm good with
yeah,
that.
like you could go. Like if you don't like Springs, you could potentially go Kurt Suzuki at 2K, but I mean the 2K catchers kind of stink tonight. So I think d'Arnaud is probably the chalk catcher today. I think a lot of people are going to play Will Smith if they're paying up. Contreras against the lefty for upside. Romuto in that situation that we talked about with Philly. But I think like Mejia or d'Arnaud would be the two guys I'd be looking at catcher tonight. 3,500 and 3K.
I
So
love
not the cheapest one in the world, Dean. Messed your theory all up.
You got to keep me on my toes. Hey,
Right.
Dodgers lineup just dropped. Betts is in it. Trey Turner's in it. Freeman, pretty standard. Freeman, Will Smith, who I love as a tournament spend up. Justin Turner, Muncy, Chris Taylor, Lux, and Bellinger. So two lefties, 8-9 versus the lefty for Milwaukee. What do you have, Will, as far as catcher tonight?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much at lockstep here. I'm not veering off the beaten path too much. Going to be playing most of those guys. I was actually hoping Gary Sanchez might have been in the lineup tonight. This felt like it would have been a good spot for him to hit a bomb, but we're getting Sandy Leon instead at 2K. I think he would just be a wraparound stack on DK. Like on DK, I think I'd play my favorite 5 bats from Minnesota and then throw in Sandy Leon at 9K. But I mean, at 2K, excuse me, in the 9 hole, but Sandy Leon is not somebody I'm thrilled about. He'd just be a filler. But yeah, I'm in lockstep with Stevie here.
In the chat, they're saying we're sleeping on this Oakland catcher. Really small sample on him, but in a small sample, he's done good so far. Curious what he did in the minors. You know much about this guy, Stevie?
I'm looking him up.
Yeah, I'm checking out his. I mean, we have on the plate IQ, but it's like 13 at bats. I want more than that.
He's a righty against Cabrera. Probably not going to play him, but I will look him up because I love cheap catchers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the ballpark stinks too, but like if you can get a cheap catcher and whatever, 24 years old, is he a bit of a prospect? He's the third ranked prospect. Yeah,
top 50.
He's a legit prospect in baseball. Is he flashing power? Came from the Braves organization in 2021. In 2021 AA, he had 22 homers. And this year in AAA, he had 19 homers and just short of around 400 bats. So there's some power in that bat. Okay. If I can get a cheap power bat, with upside, I don't know how good he is, but okay.
He was in the Matt Olson deal.
Oh, okay.
Him and was it Patchy? We're in the Matt Olson deal.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Christian Pache, who's a really good fielder, but the hitting is just not quite coming along for him. I don't know if or when it will happen, but yeah, I don't hate that as a cheap way to get out of there as far as catcher.
It's very rare. For what it's worth, it's very rare for a first-round draft pick and a top 10 pick to be a catcher. So, I mean, obviously we'll be looking at this kid, but I just don't think this is the right spot.
Adley Rutschman, man, that dude's like, I wish I could bet on him being in a Hall of Famer. I don't know what the odds are, but I just think he's got it. He's got it. Whatever it is, he's got it.
He reminds me of Mike Piazza. Adley Rutschman does.
Piazza was a Hall of Famer, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure he's a Hall of Famer. He should have been if he's not.
Yeah, 42nd round pick as a favorite of time with Lasorda. That's how the story goes, right?
Yeah.
Will, did you give your catchers or no? I apologize. I might have cut you off.
I did. We're good.
Okay. Will, what do you have as far as first base?
Paul Goldschmidt, Pete Alonso, Matt Olson, Luis Urias, even against the lefty. But my top play of the day, Dean. Top play of the day. Good numbers here. Jose Miranda at 3,900. He's going yard today, folks. Looks really good. Jose Miranda at 3,900 is like one of my favorite plays on the slate. If you're pulling up the number, 17% K rate, 289 ISO, 354 WOBA is not going to walk a lot. I don't care about that. Reagans is not someone I'm afraid of. You look at, I just think Miranda's going to have a really nice day at the plate here. So he's my secret home run call of the day. I'm in on Jose Miranda.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the Twins sometimes can be uncomfortable when they're like one of the more popular teams in the slate, but I think it's justified. Miranda's good. He's another stud. And he's hits the ball hard, which I appreciate. And the pitcher Reagan's like, again, he comes with some promise, but so far in a small sample, he's scuffled for sure. Stevie, what do you have as far as first base?
I mean, I like Goldschmidt a lot. Like I said, he's the best hitter in baseball against left-handed pitching this season. Yeah, the weather's not the best, but Drew Smiley doesn't worry me. I like the Jose Miranda call. Definitely someone that I'm looking at today. Paredes. But I like him more at third base. We'll talk about him when we get to third base. Hoskins, any Philly bat today, I think is fair game. We're not going to talk about the Mets a lot because we're really concerned about the weather, but like the Mets are in a fantastic spot against Domingo Germán, and they're a stack that like you could definitely stack up today. So Vogelbach and Pete Alonso. I will point out, like, I hate the idea of doing it, but like Mike Moustakas is hitting fourth against Noah Syndergaard at minimum salary today. I think I would still prefer Pujols over Moustakas, but just wanted to throw it out there. He's 2K, but yeah, my favorite first baseman today is Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah, I mean, Moose is probably not going to get struck out. I'm guessing not. The way Thor's pitch these days is K percent, 17, 18, 19% these days. And obviously Moose not what he once was, but theoretically he can still bang one out on the cheap. Do you like him better than Pujols as far as cheapies? They're both basically minimum salary.
I just said I like Pujols more, Dean.
You know what?
I literally said it in the same sentence of mentioning Mike Moustakas.
You got me. I got busted.
Dean.
Turns out I don't listen.
What's new? I mean, I've been working with you long enough. Like, no, that's okay. To be fair, Dean is just trying to get back at me for not mentioning him as an OG last night, so it's fine.
Well, I didn't even know there was a rundown of the OGs, but
it's okay. He's just trying to get back at me.
Isn't that Noto, Chop, and Beer? Isn't that the OGs?
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Hey folks, I've got 139 likes. Let's scurry along here. I mean, we're just getting 11 more. And some blessed person that's listening here today they're going to be stacking some money this weekend. I'm really stoked about this, Stevie. This is awesome. This is
Stevie,
awesome.
Let's jump to the old Keystone position, TV. Second base. Second base is terrible. I don't like it. It's not good. On Fanduel, it's not easy, even worse. On DK, I'm afraid. What do we have as far as ownership at second base? Because I got to pull it up in a second. I'm afraid that it's all going to condense on Vaughn Grissom, just because he's a talented young prospect. He's super cheap. Get in there. On Fanduel, Semion's priced up a little bit. He's still playable, obviously, but don't necessarily love him. Bad team total all around, but sure. But Stevie, this is just a bad position at second. It's not good. There's no Polanco. He's not available, not playing tonight. That you can punt it with Chang if you want to. We talked about it before as far as him. There's a chance he gets the hook, but he is super cheap. Who do you really want to pay for here, if anybody? It's bad.
If paying up, it would probably be Edman and Aries from Minnesota. And Aries is a lefty, but Reagan's has been so terrible, I'm not even worried about it. Edman, again, I think St. Louis is a really solid option tonight. Most people, I think, are going to spend down at second base today. So paying up at second base might be the contrarian way to approach it.
So pay up for who is the question, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could potentially play Jonathan India and hope he steals a couple bags against Syndergaard. I don't know. I'm just more likely going to end up with whoever is in my stack, whatever team is in my stack. But I mean, Vaughn Grissom is someone that he's going to be really popular, and Chang is $100 less with probably a third of the ownership. So yeah.
Yeah, we only have 12 or 13% on Grissom right now on DK, but I think that's going to be higher, especially in single entry stuff. Just sort of my thought process, but nobody is exciting. Urias is a good contact hitter, sure, but Newman's a bad contact hitter. Just who are these players? Will, what do you have? Do you have any super secret second baseman you like today, or is it all nonsense?
No, I mean, I don't think it's nonsense. I think if you're spinning up, you can play Edman. I think Gene Segura is really sneaky in the 7-hole. I don't think he's going to good today. Jeff McNeil, I think this might be a good time to just roll the dice on Jeff McNeil. You mentioned not talking about the Mets. I've really kind of been waiting to see if we're going to get any type of other confirmation that this game might play. I do really like the Mets yet again today, this time in Yankee. So I like them a lot. Those are most of the guys. Like I'm not really veering too much out of this 4K range.
Devin, he's got to be on the clock. I think we're at 150 likes. Do appreciate that in chat. If you haven't hit the like button, feel free. Please, we'd appreciate that. Like, subscribe, hit all the buttons, hit all the things. But Devin, you gave him the power, right? You yielded over to him, Stevie, as far as we're going to give away, or you're going to give away 1 week free premium as far as the NASCAR package specifically. And you put the onus on producer Devin to make a selection. So pressure's on, Devin. Somebody's going to win. Do appreciate y'all hit that like button. Somebody's going to win 1 week free to that NASCAR package.
I'll give you this too. Let's have a little bit more fun. It's Monday. Why not? If Devin can do it and we get to 200 likes, let's give away 3 more weekly packages. In the giveaway channel on Discord. If Devin can do it, I don't know if he can do it with NASCAR. I know he can do it with other sports, but if he can do it, I'll let him pick one that we got to 150. If we get to 200 by crunch time, he could do 3 in the giveaway channel on Discord too.
Okay, and if the people don't know, just so you know how to get there, we talked about it before as far as the prop shop. There are some free premium channels. There are some free Discord channels, and there are some premium Discord channels. If you go to the live stream chat channel, again, assuming Devin could set this up on the fly, you go to the live stream chat, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat, and there will be something that like either you click something or I think they changed it. And before it was a bell, there's something where it makes yourself eligible and it's a random drawing of 2 or 3 people it'll be. And we got to get the 200 likes, and I assume that to get there now. But we'll see.
I wonder if I can join in on this. Devin, just drop me a yes in the chat. This is the season of giving here. It's Christmas in August. If we get to 200, I will add in. Devin, let's make sure I can do this. I think I can. Let's add in a free week of SAO. Let's add in a free week of scores and odds. We get to 200 likes. That's a big deal, I think. That's a lot of bang for your buck. Let's add that in. Devin, can we do it? Or Steve, whoever, can we add in? There we go. Devin said, let's go. We get to 200, free week of premium scores and odds. You'll get picks from everybody. I like it. This will help you make some money. Let's go. Stevie, thank you. You inspired us to get things done today. This is a Monday, folks. This isn't Friday. This is a Monday. Free content coming out. I like it.
Jeremy in chat says, I have no idea how Discord works. I know how it works. I'm sorry I don't have the exact site memorized off the dome, but I think I got it correctly. I eventually got there. RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Go to the live stream chat channel. That is a free channel, not a premium channel. And I have access to all the channels. I know a guy. So I don't necessarily know which ones are free and which ones are premium. And I think they might actually have some kind of symbol next to them that indicates which one they are. But again, I thankfully have access to both. Devin went ahead and dropped that in chat. And I don't know if my link will work, but I'm dropping a link to it in chat as well. Hopefully you guys can get set up if you want to get yourself a chance. Well, we got to get the 200 likes before crunch time officially starts. It's going to be close.
Yes.
But I see the people in here. They're talking about it. Stevie, you're jumping on there as well. So hopefully we can knock this out and give out some premium to people so they can win themselves some NASCAR dollars over the weekend. Hot corner, third base. What do you have, Will?
Man, at third, I mean, I have another favorite play today, and it's Nolan Arenado. I think they're going to get the Smiley even in the bad weather. So this is a really, really, really big spot for them, I think. So he's my top play of the day. I like Paredes as well. You can get him there, and we talked about that last night. At 3,200 on the cheap end, I definitely think he can get there. Miranda, of course, you can play him at third. I think I'm going to end up with him at first. But yeah, for me, it's Arenado. I think he gets slightly lost in the shuffle versus his compadre, Mr. Goldschmidt. We've got Arenado at 7% and Goldie at 15%, I think, at least on my last update. So I really like him.
Yeah, I like Yandy Diaz. I wish he had a little bit more power, but, I like that matchup, and I hate that ballpark too, but he's one of the third basemen I like. We talked about Miranda. He's eligible at third base. I believe on DK. I'm not certain about Fanduel, to be honest. If you like the Braves, for sure I'm good with Riley as well. What do you have, Stevie, as far as third?
Arenado is probably my favorite. We talked about Miranda at first base. You play him at third base. Parodies, you can play him at third base as well. As much as I don't mind Chung at like second base on DK, I would not play him at third base on DK today. There's a lot of opportunity costs. You got Riley, you got Arenado, Bohm. Like, there's so many like high-end guys. Miranda, Parodies. Like, there's 5 or 6 like legit home run threats at third base today.
Yeah, however bad second is, I think third is distinctly better, obviously, and more opportunity costs with Riley and Miranda, Justin Turner, Baum as well, Arenado. I'm more likely to spend down at second than I would be at third base. Got a couple more positions to knock out. We got the Crunch Time crew coming in. Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner. You got Derek Carty, CEO of the Bat and the Blitz in full effect. Football in full effect. We're not that far away. I think we're less than 20 days. I'm currently in the midst of a best ball slow draft, which is something I didn't necessarily want to commit to, but here I am making some drafts.
I have like 40 going right now.
Oh man. Yeah. That's more than I've done. I'm doing it with like some friends, I'm not doing it like an official site or anything, but that's do you have a take? You have an official player you're grabbing more than everybody else for whatever reason, Steven? You want to give it to the people?
A lot of Taysom Hill. I don't know if it was on purpose. You get him really late as like a second or third tight end, and like he gives you like rushing touchdown upside.
And there's some upside to him playing quarterback at some point, right? I assume it's
I don't
possible.
know if he can. I don't know. Like I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
And then a lot of Devontae Parker, just kind of a later wide receiver. I'm on team wide receiver over running backs. I drafted a lot of teams with like wide receivers over running backs. So, but yeah, I mean, Devontae Parker for some reason has ended up on a lot. Trying to think who else. I got a few like really good stacks that I like with like Patrick Mahomes on a couple of them, but like I'm at the point like in best balls now where I'm like trying to be different with my builds. So
Matt's got too much Kenneth Gainwell, and Tom says he's got too much Michael Gallup, who I think is.
I like the Gallup.
Isn't he hurt right now?
I still like the Gallup call.
But Dallas is kind of thin as far as their receivers. Hey, Stevie, who do you like at shortstop tonight?
Who do I like at shortstop? Correa, for sure. I like him as I'm waiting for it to load. Bryson Stott, another Philly bat that I don't mind, that I don't think a lot of people will include in their stack. Paul DeJong kind of hitting in that like wasteland spot of like 7th, but they're on the road, and if they do score some runs, I think he'll get 4-ish at bats, maybe even 5. If you want to pay up, Trey Turner, Francisco Lindor, Corey Seager, Adames, but I think Correa is the top shortstop tonight.
Will?
I like Adames. I could definitely agree with that. If the game goes, I don't mind Lindor. Carlos Correa is my absolute number one, though. I'm really heavy on Minnesota today, for what it's worth.
Where are we at as far as likes? So we creeping up on 200, Will?
Man, we're getting close. Let's see. 198.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, my goodness. Guys, 198. Let's click it. 199. Dean, we're at 200, sir. We're at 200 likes. Bang.
Let's see. Was there already a giveaway that I just missed earlier today? Did BS Perf win 1 week free of RG Premium? I think Devin might have been running something and I wasn't even aware of it. That's because I don't know how Discord works, obviously. But I assume the giveaway is going to be in full effect soon as far as what is it, Stevie? We're giving out 2 or 3, or you're giving out. I did nothing.
We are. I mean, we're all RG family. We're giving out 3 weekly passes, and Devin's going to post that over there on Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord.
The live stream chat channel, that's NASCAR specific for the record, if y'all are not aware. Just
Daytona week, good week. You can learn a lot about like how I approach these races and have been very profitable doing it, but always fun to give back, man.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Will, outfield, go for it.
Minnesota, more Minnesota. Mets, more Mets. Sneakily, I do like, let's say, Brian Anderson. You can get a little piece of him. You can get a little bit of, and I'm saying that because I don't believe in Adam Aller. So, yeah, Mets, more Mets, Twins, more Twins, and then of course Cardinals in bad weather. Those are my outfield plays.
Derek in chat says Roth just tweeted that Philly looks like it's going to be having a delay. Roth will be on in 5 minutes to explain that, but check out his Twitter as always. He's a must follow on the Twitter machine for sure. And Cheyenne's asking how safe Philadelphia is. Well, there you go. I can't give you any context to that, but potentially a delay, likely a delay coming for Philadelphia. Sometimes a delay is good though, unless of course there's like a puddle in left field and you can't get rid of it, which Cleveland had the other day, which was an absolute disaster. What do you have, Stevie, as far as outfielders?
So you guys know, head on over to Discord right now and hit the enter button. There's only like 10 people enter so far, and there's 3 chances, and it's only good for like 4 more minutes. So there you go. Who's going to get it? As far as outfield, Kyle Schwarber is the top hitter on the slate for me today. Again, I've talked about Philly a lot. Don't expect Sessa to pitch deep into this game. So like Schwarber, love Buxton as well. I think they're really 2 guys that I want to get in as many lineups. Rosarina, Ramirez, those Tampa bats. And then the other one that, if you're looking to save some money, JJ Bleday. I like that.
JJ Bleday, it rhymes.
Yeah, he's hitting 4th in a good spot. He's 2K. He's very talented. He's talented, man. So he's someone that I like. Nick Castellanos in that Philly stack with like a Schwarber. And then Jake Fraley. We didn't talk about Cincinnati, I don't think, the whole time. And Jake Fraley is someone that I like a lot tonight, hitting leadoff against Syndergaard on the road. Gives you some stolen base upside, gives you some power upside. Jake Fraley might be the real deal. We need a nickname, though, Dean. Like
for Fraley?
Yeah, we need a nickname.
Is he nickname worthy? Well, he's had some power of late. I'll give him that, sure.
He's nickname worthy enough for like,
one,
but he's nickname worthy enough for like the second half of the season, right?
Big Dumper's already taken, right? I think somebody has that already.
Yeah, Big Dumper's gone.
By the way, this isn't kidding here. We got less than 3 minutes. Devin, this NASCAR premium giveaway, it's less than 3 minutes to go. So if you want in on this, and it's gonna, if you're thinking about hitting that button, jump on over to the live stream chat channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. It's a free channel, not a premium channel. And it just says hit the enter button. And I was going to do that to see how it works, but I don't want to accidentally win and take away from somebody else. But the instructions are just hit the enter button, and that's it. That's all it takes. Is it dummy proof, Stevie?
Yeah, just hit the enter giveaway button. That's all you got to do.
And then after that, once that's done, Devin's going to run it back for the SAO, the scores and odds premium, once that's finished. So you got a chance to win both. We'll see how that goes down. Just jump over to the live stream chat channel. We got Big Show Brandon asking in the chat about kind of an off the board stack, right? I think St. Louis is going to be mostly neglected because of that ballpark, and they're kind of expensive too. I don't think they're going to get heavily owned at all. So I think St. Louis is kind of interesting. Michael wants to know, Will, do you have a lean as far as Atlanta versus Philly? My lean would be Atlanta personally, but I hear you if it's Philly.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Atlanta strikes out a lot. I think they will strike out some, but they should be the better side of this game.
Apparently, according to Dale, that Fraley's an LSU legend. I was not aware. I don't really follow college basketball or college football either. Neither one. Hey, George has a question for you, Stevie. FanDuel Cash. We got Goldie and Tots or Edman and Acuna. Ooh, that's a pretty good combination. Stott and Goldie versus Edman and Acuna. I think, you tell me.
I lean the first one.
Let's see. Chances of postpone as far as the Yankees. Roth will be on in just a couple minutes. He's right around the corner. I'm not going to answer that question. I have no clue. And yes, I said back college basketball. I've had several arrows. This has not been a perfect game for me, unfortunately. Hopefully, the Crunch Time crew is jumping on any minute to relieve me and get me out of here before I keep botching stuff. Hey, Will, do you have any homer plays? Who's going to bang on a homer today?
Well, I gave up my favorite homer play, and that's Mr. Miranda.
Okay, fair enough. You want to force another one out, or you want to yield to Stevie?
No, we're going to stick with Mr. Miranda. Like him a lot. Feels like one's going out of the park. I'm going to stick with Miranda today.
Big Hurt wants to know, Stevie, your favorite pitcher for FanDuel tournaments.
Cabrera.
Anthony wants to know Cabrera or Gray on FanDuel. I'll ask Will. You got Cabrera or you got Gray? Who do you prefer?
Cabrera.
Cash play on Miami. I don't see that. Maybe Blade is a flat out punt, but otherwise, why? Why would you play Miami guys for cash? I know the matchup's good, but the ballpark stinks, and the Marlins are also terrible. Yeah, I like Blade as if you need a punt, he's the best punt on Miami. Otherwise, nobody else really to get excited about there. Let's take a peek. Is the Crunch Time crew? Yeah, they are knocking on the door. We got 2 out of 3. Carty, he's always in that makeup chair, getting his hair extra primped. But, Carty, oh, here he is. Here's Carty coming in, working on the blitz probably on the fly as well. Carty, are we exhausted these days with the bat and the blitz going on?
Yeah, it's a lot right now, but, it's always a fun time of year having both going on.
Yeah, looking forward to that. NFL season right around the corner. Check out, what is it? You probably know the actual website, RotoGrinders.com/the blitz. Am I close?
RotoGrinders.com/the-blitz.
All right, there you go. I was way off. Roth, dude, you're freaking us out, man. We got Pittsburgh nonsense. We got Philadelphia nonsense.
Yeah.
We got New York nonsense. Mad Max wants to throw baseballs against the Yankees.
Yeah.
We need some help. Help us out.
Okay, I can do that. I feel decent about what's going on in at least a couple of those spots. So, when you guys sign out, I can hit some weather talk.
Will or Stevie, you got anything for the boys, or shall we just step aside and the people want to hear what Roth has to say?
Roth,
I'm good, man. Roth wants to do out their premium.
Your wife posted some Instagram photos. Your kids are precious, man.
Thank you, man.
That's all I got for you today.
They're pretty cute. They can be a pain as kids are, but man, they're pretty cute. It makes it worth it.
They're fun. They're exhausting, but they're fun.
Is it weird that Stevie follows your wife on Instagram, or that's normal?
No, my wife and Stevie are friends. I don't know how that happened.
I was the one that told Roth he needed to marry his wife. Like,
that's actually true.
Yeah.
So,
Come on,
good advice,
Steve.
by the way. Thanks for that. Good
I don't know
advice.
the backstory, but all right, fair enough. Hey, myself and Stevie and Will, we're going to step aside and get out of here. Congrats to those that won themselves free premium on the RotoGrinders Discord channel. And I guess the contest is probably going on for the Scores and Odds one as we speak, because the NASCAR one probably just finished. I want to give you all a shout out, but I don't have it pulled up right in front of me. So congrats if you got it on that. Thanks for Stevie to giving that away. Myself, Will, Stevie, we're going to step aside and make way for Dave Potts, for Derek Carty, and Roth, who, he's the star of the show right now, at least for the first 5 minutes. Roth, go for it.
Hey, appreciate it as always, gentlemen. Thank you so much. This is indeed the moment. This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by FanDuel. If you're not getting in the FanDuel single entry series, what are you doing? It's back. It's better than ever. $50K in bonus cash up for grabs. We're in the 5th week, but that's still plenty of time to get yourself a live spot in the finals. Shout out to last week's 2 winners. We had a doubleheader week last week. PTRCK, Patrick, it's probably Patrick without any vowels, 1972, and Dawson. Just make sure you're getting in that. That's the bottom line. Winner gets an all-expense-paid trip to the single-entry series in Chicago, September 9th. Shout out the $10,000 grand prize, and Meansy will actually put you in his will if you succeed as well. So he's taking you out on the yacht. You get the deep dish pizza, and you will be in his will as well if you win. So a lot of reasons to go do that. We're joined by a couple of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, it is Dave Potts, a.k.a. Cheeseisgood. What up, Cheese?
Hey, not much. It seems like a weather day, but it also seems like I think you're just going to say, everything. We're just going to play everything. I think it's not a weather day, but it is, and we're going to be fine if something happens.
I think you know me pretty well. We will get to that shortly. We also have Derek Carty. He is El Presidente of the Bat and the BatX Enterprises. What is up, Mr. Carty?
Pretty good. You kept me on the same level tonight, which is always nice. El Presidente. I'm the Spanish language version of it now, but still good.
Right. It's better than Deck Swab or whatever else.
Secretary of Transportation.
Good to have you guys always, really 2 of the sharpest minds in the industry here on the show. 3, if you include me for weather, and nobody else really does this. So I am one of the sharpest minds at what I do. Though, did you see David Montgomery? Did you see what I tweeted?
Yes.
I did not. What about David Montgomery?
David Montgomery was doing an interview, and he gave like a weather forecast. And the people, like all the interviewers, were like, what was that? And he was like, oh, when I retire, I want to be a sports meteorologist and give updates on how the weather's going to impact play. I love it. This guy's amazing.
That's actually awesome.
Yeah. So big David Montgomery fan here, even though I had no idea who he was as of 2 days ago. But hey, let's talk about this weather. The big concern all day has been New York. And this is a good example of why you got to look at things last minute and why models just don't matter in the long run. It's looked ugly. It's looked good. It's looked ugly. I think the game looks good. Like, I think of the 3 weather games, which is New York, Philly, and Pittsburgh, I think New York is the least likely to see a delay. And I think it's the most likely to play uninterrupted. That's redundant because it's the least likely to get a delay. Bottom line is, I think you should play it. I think you can play max. I think you can play hitters. I'm not saying it's risk-free, but I think it's going to work out. So play it. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. Because the other 2 games, the pitcher is barely a thing. So,
okay, good.
Tell us anyway.
I don't think you can play pitchers in Pittsburgh. I think they're likely going to late start, as there's a cell that's like 20 minutes away from them right now. So I think they probably have to late start for that. And then there's still these spotty storms upstream, which may or may not end up over the ballpark. I don't know. So if you want to do it in a tournament and play pitchers, okay.
I don't think pitchers matter a whole lot there. I think
that one's the 0.
Kind of what we care about. Yeah.
Great.
Like maybe in Philly, there's a moderate interest in Philly in a pitcher.
Yeah.
Okay. So then for hitters in Pittsburgh, I think it's pretty unlikely that we get 3. What would have to happen is 3 storms go right over the ballpark. One of them is almost definitely going to and cause a late start. Another one might upstream. It could and cause a delay. But the chance of a third one, there's just not that much rain. And we'd get so unlucky if 3 of them just steamroll over the ballpark consecutively. I don't think it's very likely. I think you play batters. Yes, there's a little bit of risk, but I think you do it anyways. Hey, if you're watching for free, smash that like button for us. This is the best free content in the biz. And then last but not least is this Philly game. And that's the one where I'm least confident about the outcome. I don't know what's going to happen in Philly. There are these storms that are just upstream. It probably works out, but if there's one game that I'm worried about, it's Philly. Do you say we want pitchers there, Cheese?
Just barely. I mean,
sort of. Not in cash.
Right.
Sure.
I think it's okay to do that. I know a ton of people want bats in Philly, I imagine.
Yes.
I don't know that for a fact. It probably is okay, but if there's one that I'm worried about, it would be Philly, but I still think it probably works out. So certainly in GPPs, go for it with bats. In cash games, if that's the play and there's nothing else, you can't pivot, then okay. But if you can just as easily go even to New York, then please do that instead. I think that would be the smarter play. Does that sound good? Does that work for you guys?
That works.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to be monitoring radar and Twitter and everything else here as we get closer to first pitch. So I will let you know if anything changes. But for now, let's not talk weather. Let's talk what you're going to do about it and how you're going to attack this slate. So, Cheese, why don't you kick things off for us?
Okay. Big picture is it's pretty well balanced everywhere. Like there's plenty to like, both pitching and hitting. You can build several different ways and feel good about it. And because of that, nothing is like mega chalk. I mean, we've got a little chalk, but there are a lot of ways to get around it. So I like this slate very well from all angles.
Okay. Well, then let's just dive right into pitcher and we'll start breaking it down.
Yeah. Pitching is interesting in that, like, so we have Scherzer at like $1,000 more than Urias. They're more or less the same as far as what I think you should expect. And so assuming you need the $1,000, which on FanDuel you really do, I think Urias makes a little more sense as the go-to guy. On DraftKings, I was hoping Scherzer was going to end up getting a little sneaky because of the price and because of the weather, but it's kind of disturbing how easy it is to play a Scherzer Urias lineup. Like it's really just not hard. So I think those 2 guys combined with Jeffrey Springs are going to make up all of the chalk. Like I think all 3 of those guys will be north of 30% owned. After Scherzer and Urias, we've got this whole group of guys that have low ceiling because of pitch count. Jeffrey Springs looks great. Like the guy who should be good is him, but like he's been struggling to get even 85 pitches a lot of games. Like there's really not much ceiling. It's just he's a good pitcher and it's a good matchup, and he's cheap enough that he should be fine. Sonny Gray and Edward Cabrera are the upside guys that also kind of have pitch count concerns that are holding them back. Realistically, none of those guys, Springs, Gray, Cabrera, throw much more than 90 pitches. Like it's conceivable.
90 seems low. They can get up to 100.
Springs can't.
In a ceiling situation, yes, he can.
Springs?
I'm not saying it's likely, but yeah, he could get there if he's pitching really well.
Okay. I will agree to disagree, but Springs, Gray, and Cabrera are all good, and they're all fine, and I'm playing all three of them in basically mix and match. I'm totally out on Drew Smiley, although he's fine, and he's also cheap. Syndergaard is just barely there for me. And Jordan Montgomery is also just kind of barely there for me. Like those three guys are all fine, but they're not quite as good as Springs, and they're a little more expensive. And then I don't like their upside quite as much as Gray and Cabrera. So there you go.
Okay. Carty, you want to talk your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of Cheese said, but I disagree with some. So like Scherzer's great and Urias is great, but the bet does think Springs, at least in a mean scenario, is basically the same as them tonight, and he's considerably cheaper. He has the best matchup of all of them against LA, against the most strikeout heavy offense of them. And he's good. Like, yeah, he pitches for the Rays. The leash is not as long as these other guys. There are outings where he's just going to get pulled at 80 pitches. The bet's projecting 94, which is not anything crazy. But Urias is in a pretty similar boat with the way Dodgers handle pitchers. Like, I don't think Urias's upside is like so far beyond Springs. Springs has actually – Urias has never gone over 100 pitches this year. Springs has once, but Springs has shown that upside, and Urias
He's only
has
hit
not.
93 times all year in 16 starts. Like, I don't know what you're looking at, Carty.
What do you mean?
With the pitch count. Like 94, you got to go back to June to see him over 90.
He went.
Like, I just don't get.
He went 92 on less than a month ago. He went 92 3 starts ago.
78, 85, 85, 92, 78, 82. Like,
And then the one before that was 102.
Yes, in June. Yes.
Well, it's been 6 starts. Like, it's not like I'm just
I
saying.
don't know how you project him for the most since June. Like, if you can project him for 90, it doesn't change his projection. We both like him. Like him.
So again,
this is
I like
fun.
Springs.
You guys should fight more often. I like this. This is like two of the smartest minds in the biz. Disagreeing is a blast.
I mean, we're really like quibbling over like pretty minor detail here.
And the bottom line is, either way, he projects as the best points per dollar guy. And
So like you're playing him for sure in cash games, and he projects as the lowest owned of the 3 on DraftKings. He projects lower owned than Scherzer on FanDuel. So I think of the 3, he's the guy that I have the most interest in cash and in GPPs. I do like Scherzer. I do like Urias. I think on DraftKings, you're pairing one of those 2 with Springs. On FanDuel, I think you just play Springs because he's so much cheaper than the other guys. And then in GPPs, I kind of like Drew Smiley. I know Cheese doesn't like him. It's a perceived crappy matchup. Smiley's obviously not good. But he's cheap. He's going to be too low owned. He's a good point per dollar guy. The upside is there if he's pitching well to go deeper into games. So I like Smiley quite a bit. I think Adam Oller, believe it or not, is really interesting tonight. He projects not a whole lot worse than this second tier, and he's really cheap, and he's in a really good spot against Miami in the best park with the best weather, with a pitcher's umpire, and he's super cheap. So those are the GPP guys I have the most interest in, but I think Syndergaard is interesting. I think Jordan Montgomery is interesting. I think Sonny Gray and Edward Cabrera are, Cheese kind of mentioned them as like the upside guys, but as a result of that, I think they're going to be a little overowned. So I would have more interest in in kind of these other guys that all really do project pretty similarly.
Okay. You want to talk some bats for us? Maybe favorite stacks?
Yeah. So the top tier of offenses tonight is basically like the Braves and the Dodgers. They're both going to be pretty popular, I would think. The Braves in particular, the Dodgers maybe a little bit less so because of the prices are not quite as appealing. But I like both of them a lot tonight. Both sides of that Philly Cincy game, especially on FanDuel, project pretty well. I like both of those guys. And then I think a team like the Marlins, even though I like Aller, like the Marlins, their prices and ownership, I think is appealing. I think the Pirates are appealing. There's probably like 6 or 7 teams kind of in that tier that you can think about playing.
Okay. Cheese, your favorites?
Yeah, I'm thinking the Dodgers come in kind of low, not low owned, but like enough lower than the Braves that I would say I like them better when accounting for ownership.
I agree.
To me, Braves, Dodgers, Phillies are kind of the top 3, along with the Twins. For me, I like the Twins a lot. Those 4 pretty much kind of make up their own tier. Tampa interests me a little bit. And I think you can play some cheap nonsense teams, which would be Miami, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. Just like you can play whatever you want around even just a 4-man stack of one of those teams. Like if you want to do, Betts, Turner, Freeman, Smith, well, then you need to play one of those other teams to get them. Or if you want to do Acuna, Swanson, Riley, those cheap teams are the way to make that happen.
Okay. Someone said, hey, Kevin, can you kind of clarify what's happening in Philly? And I wasn't very clear about that because that's the one where I don't really know. I think it's going to be okay. I think they're probably going to end up playing through some showers. I think there's a chance of some later inning trouble, but whatever you were planning on doing in Philly, I think I'd stick with it. It's like Pitt. Could I see a way where it goes south? Sure. Do I think that's a likely outcome? No. So I think you just play it. Yeah, that's where I stand in Philly. I wouldn't fade bats there.
And before we go position by position, because I'm already seeing a lot of questions about the Cardinals. To me, the Cardinals are the most confusing situation of the day. Like, they're so good against lefties, but like Smiley's actually pretty weirdly good against righties. And then, that's the one game that is a downgrade for hitting, like weather-wise. So like I kind of like the Cardinals, but they're like a full tier below that top group for me. So I totally get it. It looks like the bat kind of feels the same way. It's just like, it's just not quite there with those top teams. Is that how you feel about it, Derek?
Especially on DraftKings, they project as the second highest owned offense tonight, and they're just not that.
Okay. They've just been so good recently, and I get it. Like you look at the lineup, it just looks fantastic against any lefty. But I don't know. They're kind of a good leftover for me.
Okay, let's go position by position. And Cheese, why don't you start us off with a little catcher talk?
Will Smith is fantastical, and you should play him. He is the Dodger that will be chalky, but that is good chalk. The Real Muto and Wilson Contreras prices on DK are kind of goofy. I get it with Real Muto, but like Travis d'Arnaud being only 3K pretty much just means if you're not playing Smith, you should play d'Arnaud, and anything else can really only be in a stack, and that's just kind of it.
Okay, Carty?
Yeah, Cheese said it perfectly. You're paying up for Smith. You're going down to d'Arnaud. That's it. On FanDuel, where Real Muto is a lot cheaper than he is on DraftKings, I think you can play Smith or Real Muto in cash on FanDuel if you want to, or even as a one-off in a GPP. But on DK, where you have to play a catcher, it's definitely Smith or d'Arnaud, and that's it.
Okay, let's go to first base.
Yeah, so there's not like a clear top guy or even necessarily like a clear top tier tonight. Like all the top guys project basically the same. Hoskins and Olsen are a little bit above the rest and cheaper than the rest. So I think they're the ones you're really looking at in cash games. But like Goldie, Alonso, Freeman, Rizzo, like they're all in the mix. Freeman I like a lot in tournaments. I like him a lot in the Dodger stacks, which we've said are probably going to come in a little bit too low owned. And then the cheap guys, like Michael Chavis and Mike Moustakas are both 2K on DraftKings, and I think they're both very viable punts. Definitely some power upside there. And on FanDuel, Yandy Diaz at 3-2. I probably like him a little more at third base, but he's leading off for the Rays. He's against a bad pitcher, so I think he's interesting. But Hoskins and Olsen there also are really just kind of they're cheaper than the rest of the tier. So I think that's kind of the way first breaks down today.
Okay. Cheese, first base.
I agree with that. It's kind of a big glob of pretty good. And I don't think you really go wrong with any of those top guys. I kind of like pulling Alonso out as the one-off, just based on, any one of these guys can hit 2 home runs. Who's the guy who hits 2 home runs at no ownership? That's probably him. I'm a Jose Miranda guy at this point. He's cheap-ish on DK. And the fact that he's priced up a little on FanDuel is fine for me because it just keeps him under the radar. Hoskins probably makes the most sense on FanDuel in particular at 33. But I think it's a place to get a little different with one of these guys.
I'll say the guy that I like to get different with is Rizzo, because you're getting the leverage off of Scherzer. Scherzer's, as great as Scherzer is, when he has issues, it's usually power to lefties, and that's kind of the profile here with Rizzo.
Gotcha. Okay.
That whole game in general, Mets Yankees, like you can pull out a lot of one-offs out of that game to be different. And I mean, there's great hitters in that game, obviously.
Okay. Second base.
This is just like the new catcher. Like it used to be like you should just punt.
Hang on. This is a problem.
Okay.
The Phillies game is under a late start, and that's not good. I don't know. That's not a good thing because it's not raining. So that game is now immediate concern. I hate when teams do a dry late start. Give me 1 second here. Let me look at something. Hold on. All right, 1 second.
Yep.
I don't know why they would late start. I don't know why they would do that. I would lower my exposure to it. I still think they probably end up playing, but that certainly does not make me feel good about what their plan is.
That's rough because, especially when we get to the outfield, guys like Schwarber and then Fraley are some of the most popular plays on the whole slate, and you're using them both as one-offs and in cash and in stacks. So, yeah.
I would lower your exposure a little bit to Philly. I'm not saying you have to fully get off it, but I just don't know why they would late start.
Okay. Let's
keep going, and I'll try to figure out what they're doing there.
Check back in 45 seconds with you, Kevin. So second base, by far the worst position. I tagged Vaughn Grissom on DK just because, why not just spend $2,100 at this position? Because it's all pretty bad. On FanDuel, India, Semien, Segura, Stott, which 3 of those 4 guys are in that Philly game, or played Muncy in a Dodgers stack, or maybe Edman leading off. It's just a truly bad position. So to me, this is the just play it in your stack position or spend down as a one-off.
Okay.
Carty. Yeah. I completely agree. It's exactly the same. Play Vaughn Grissom on DraftKings. I guess with his weather thing, Simeon's the guy you're playing in cash on FanDuel. And then it's kind of just in your stack or spend down, Rengifo, Jonah Bride. Those are other options. If these Philly guys, Segura, Stott, India are kind of out of the mix here now.
Okay. I don't know where we are. So sorry, Carty. Just keep going.
No problem. Third base. So Austin Riley is the top guy tonight. He's going to be pretty popular because Atlanta is going to be pretty popular. On FanDuel in particular, I think he's a really good play. But we also have Yandy Diaz, who I mentioned earlier. He's $600 cheaper on FanDuel. He's leading off. He's against a bad pitcher. I'm fine if you want to save a little bit of money and play Diaz instead. You can play Muncy here for sure as a one-off or in your Dodger stacks. You can play Justin Turner as a one-off or in your Dodger stacks. Brian Anderson is 2-3 on FanDuel against Adam Oller, and that's really appealing because he's a decent hitter. And, as much as it's, kind of pitching conditions there, Oller is not a good pitcher. He's also 2-3 on DraftKings, so he's a really good play there too. I think Isaac Paredes is interesting as kind of like a mid-tier punt type of guy. But yeah, that's third.
Jeez.
Yeah, same basic opinion there on FanDuel. So Carty mentioned Moustakas at first on DK. He's the cheap third baseman on FanDuel, down there with Brian Anderson at 23. Yeah. And again, I like Jose Miranda, who's also viable here.
Okay, shortstop.
Shortstop is, as usual, just fantastical. If you have all the money in the world, I would play Trey Turner. And you can get there pretty easily on FanDuel, where it's kind of a condensed group. 61 on DK is a little pricey. Personally, I like Correa next, followed by Swanson, and then Seager and Lindor and O'Neill Cruz. Like, that whole group is just awesome. So as much as possible, I want to spend up, get one of those, whatever I mentioned, 6 players.
Okay. Carty?
Yeah, Trey Turner's the top guy. You can definitely get there on FanDuel. I think you can get there on DraftKings also. I like Swanson maybe a little more than Correa, but I'm not going to, say one way or the other. It doesn't matter that much. Swanson and Correa are both good. The cheap guys, O'Neill Cruz on FanDuel, a little cheaper. Guys like Joey Wendell, Paul DeYoung, I think they're fine. On DK, you have like Kevin Newman, who's in a decent spot and cheap. You have Taylor Walls for 2.5. That's kind of it. If you're not paying for one of the big guys, it's fine to punt with some of those cheaper ones too.
Okay. Take me to the outfield. It does look like the Pittsburgh game got the late start that was expected, really. Doesn't change anything.
Are you saying the Philly game is not, or they both are now?
They both are.
Okay.
Yeah, they both are now under a late start.
Got you. So yeah, like if this Philly Cincy game plays, which depending on whatever Roth tells us, like Cheese said it earlier, Schwarber and Fraley are 2 of the best plays on the whole slate. They're going to be pretty highly owned, and if you can play them, that's great. Ronald Acuna is in that Pittsburgh game. He projects really well and projects to be pretty heavy chalk tonight. So again, we want to know about that when we're talking about cash games. Arozarena, I like quite a bit against Davidson, platoon advantage, hitting second. I like some of the Pittsburgh guys also on the other side of Acuna against Odorizzi. Like, I like Marcano for 2K on DraftKings hitting leadoff. I like Brian Reynolds quite a bit. Byron Buxton against a lefty is in a really good spot today on FanDuel in particular. And then I like, the stack stuff. I like Mookie Betts and Chris Taylor and stuff like that in the Dodger stack that's going to be too low owned and that sort of thing.
Cheese.
Yeah, I really we got 10 minutes before lock, and I'm just sitting here with all this Schwarber and Fraley trying to figure out what to do with it. Like, you can pivot on DK, you can pivot off of Schwarber pretty easily. Go to Acuna, go to Buxton, go to Trout. FanDuel, Schwarber's down at 32, and those other guys are over 4. So that's a really tough difference. Maybe you can get up to Buxton or Arozarena. Brian Reynolds is in that range. I don't know. And as far as the cheap stuff, like if you're trying to get off of Fraley now, I like Harold Ramirez, but he's like $1,000, $900 more expensive. JJ Bleday is cheap. All the Marlins are, a cheap thing. You can kind of wait till later and see what you want to do. You could, if we're more confident in the Pittsburgh game plan, you could do Grossman or Rosario instead of like Fraley and Senzel, if you want to switch off of that. Any further thoughts, Roth, on this Phillies game?
Yes, I just don't understand what they're doing. Like it's not going to rain legitimately for 2 hours. So I don't know what they're doing. Like, are they just going to pull the tarp and be like, just kidding, we've changed our mind, we were wrong? Or are they going to wait for 2 hours for the rain to start and then postpone? I have no idea. I don't know why they would late start, so I don't know what they're planning on doing.
This is truly horrendous, honestly.
So I mean, they should just play right now and it would be okay. I don't know. I have no idea now what they're going to do. So it's fun.
And
I still think they're just going to figure out a way to play. I still think they're going to figure out a way to play because they should just play right now.
Yeah.
It says, for what it's worth, it says delay on ESPN while the Braves game says rain delay. I don't know what.
Like it could be like they're saying maybe like, a electrical system issue or like something else that they're.
Hang on. I just think they're going to play. Like, I just don't know why they would late start, and I think they're going to play in Philly. Like, the late start is stupid, but I don't know why they do that. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you guys. I'm sorry. I have no idea.
All right. Well, all I did is just switch out a couple of one-off Schwarbers to Buxton or Trout or Betts or something. But I'm not really changing too much mostly because I don't know what I would do and I don't have time to do it.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I don't know. Let's take some questions here. I swear in 15 minutes, they're just going to pull the tarp and say, like, just kidding. We're done.
I'm trying to, I'm looking on Twitter to see, if there's any, talk of anything else. And, there's not.
No, they said due to rain in the area, the game will not start at 7:05. But it's legitimately not going to rain there for 2 hours.
One of the Reds beat reporters is Reds game versus Phillies will begin in delay. No rain at the ballpark yet.
It's not going to. I don't know what they're doing. Is Scherzer okay for cash? Playmaker says yes, I think so. I feel pretty good about New York. I haven't looked in. Yeah, you can play Scherzer in cash. I feel good about New York playing fine. Better one-off in DK, Goldie or Freddie. One of those, maybe both of those are in Philly. I don't know. Geez, DK
Actually,
single entry.
Neither's in Philly.
Okay.
I would Goldie.
Carty, FanDuel Cash, Segura, Buxton, or Stott and Trey.
It's probably probably Segura Buxton. But I do really like getting up to Trey in cash.
Jay says, hey, Kevin, when the rain starts in 2 hours, does it open up after that or does it pour for the night? No, it would clear. It's just generally if you wait that long and then the rain starts, teams postpone.
So what I'm hearing here, and correct me if I'm wrong, they can definitely play baseball tonight if they want to play baseball.
Yes.
But we're just
simply trying to figure out if the Phillies are just want to get away with canceling this game for whatever reason, rest the bullpen, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they've got literally hours before it rains. And then it's just the one storm, and then that slowly moves through. Hey, Swanson or Correa, DK Cash?
Cheese prefers Correa. I prefer Swanson.
They're both great
Matt
players.
says,
Yeah.
But it's splitting hairs and really try to get up to Turner.
Matt says, if you're only playing one lineup, would you stack Phillies or the Mets? I'd stack the Mets because I know the game is going to play. Cheese?
Yeah, I've got the Phillies ahead of them, but it's also, the Mets are also a lot sneakier, right? Yeah, do the Mets.
Yeah. DK single entry, better stack Twins or Dodgers, Carty?
They're both good, but I prefer the Dodgers.
DK Cash, Moose, or Pujols?
So Moose is in Philly. I would say Moose, but given this risk, I guess I'd say Pujols.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking at their reliever usage recently. Like this bullpen is pretty taxed. They're they just lost Dominguez to the DL. Most of their other guys have
got to play. They just have to play
recently. Like the last couple
they're
of
going to
days,
play. They got to play. Like unless they're literally just trying to scrap the game, they got to play.
They really might just be trying to scrap the game.
Yeah, so like they're very clearly just doing something funny if they don't play. And I like Carty's. Like I can see what Carty just said. Like there's a reason they would want to not play for baseball purposes for that bullpen to rest. It would be garbage if they do it though.
Okay, I mean, all right. Since second is so ugly on FanDuel, is Michael Chavis viable in a Pittsburgh mini stack?
Yes, he is.
Scorekeeper
Again,
says,
if you think that game is, oh wait, no, that's the Atlanta one, which you think is kind of okay still.
Scorekeeper says it's literally about to pour in Philly. It's literally about to pour, not over the ballpark, is where it's literally about to pour. DK Cash. Your 3v3 cheese, Urias Smith Miranda or Max Darno Riley?
Both super fantastic. Probably Urias Smith Miranda. That's so very close.
Okay. Do we hit lock yet? What are your thoughts on Max Kepler today as a part of a Minnesota stack? Is Max? I thought Max Kepler was like an old player. No, he's still a real player.
He's a real
Not
player.
that old.
Okay, I thought he was old.
Yeah, in a stack, you could play him. Only in a
was
stack.
there another Kepler? Is there another Kepler I'm thinking of? Like 20
Max
years ago?
dad? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
all right. I'm making things up. It's fine.
The other thing I'll say about this Philly game, they do also have incentive to want to play it. Like they're getting Luis Sessa as the opposing pitcher. Like he probably doesn't pitch against them if this game gets postponed, right? Like I don't.
Yeah, they lose facing a bullpen game too. That's a good point.
Yeah.
There's just not enough rain for them to postpone. Like there's just no reason for them to postpone. They should play the game, and I think that they will play the game. DK single entry Braves and Pirate stack with Springs and Scherzer, or Syndergaard Springs with a Dodgers Brave stack. Cheese, did you follow that?
I did not.
Yeah, sorry. DK single entry Braves and Pirate stack with Springs and Scherzer, or Syndergaard Springs with a Dodgers Brave stack.
I guess I'd go Springs and Scherzer. Yeah.
Gabe Kepler, that's who I was thinking of.
Gabe Kapler.
Kapler, that's a manager, and it's a Kapler.
It's Kepler.
Different name.
Cool. It's a different name entirely. All right. Hey, we hit lock. That was just absolutely shitty. I hated that. Okay. Well, we've got a sweat in Philly and in Pittsburgh, and it should be fun. So good times. Okay. Anything you guys want to add?
No, I mean, I think we've made it pretty clear that game is sufficiently risky now. So like I think you're in the clear.
I'm not in the clear.
If that gets delayed.
It's just tonight's a shit show, and that's fun. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. So I'm gonna stare at some radar. So for Cheese and for Carty, hit the like button. I don't know why you would, but go for it anyways. We appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.